you for tuning in. This is your weekly dose of inspiration. My name is Pule Molebadzi, here to report on positive and uplifting news. Welcome to Bophelong. The young man on the show today is passionate about causes that promote social cohesion, particularly for people with physical disabilities. Lloyd Babedi spoke to us about finding his purpose, appreciating his talent and skills, regardless of his physical challenges. Have a look at this.
From the Alexandra Township, meet Lloyd Babedi, born an able-bodied child playing with other boys in the streets. He never thought his life would dramatically change. Although born with a C-shaped spine, Lloyd was a happy child, but soon as his narrative changed, he was forced to adapt and live according to his new life program.
I was born with a C-shaped spine. I could walk until the age of 16, and then I had a back operation which was unsuccessful. So after the age of 16, I used the wheelchair for about 2.5 years, and then through physiotherapy I started using crutches. So I sort of had a feel of both sides of the world.
Now being different and labelled as disabled at the age of 16, Lloyd had to come to terms with the different life he had.
Formally, my disability is called spina bifida, and there's another part to it which is Erb's palsy, which means semi-paralyzed. So the C-shaped spine, I couldn't sit up straight. So I had to get a back operation where they had to put metal rods in my lower spine to make sure that it's straight. During that process, instead of just putting in the metal rods, they took out part of my spine, which that damaged some of my nerves on my left-hand side. So I'm semi-paralyzed on the left-hand side. I can't feel the difference between hot and cold. And it takes time for me to feel pain. But other than that, my bodily functions, it still functions normally.
Lloyd explains how difficult the transition was for him.
It was difficult because I remember even initially when I was told that I had to go for an op, I cried. I didn't want to do it. It was like I felt that something would go wrong. So after the op, it was difficult for me. I didn't want to be with anyone. The only person that I could actually get along with was my dad, and then also I could get along with my brother.
His biggest challenge was when he thought people saw him as a different person.
I always felt people judged me after the whole transition, because me, myself, being a young person, I would laugh at people with disabilities and that. So now, because it happened to me, it was like God is punishing me now for making fun of them, and now people are making fun of me.
It might have taken him time to accept and see capabilities within his disability.
It took me a very long time to even get out of the house. But when I eventually started gaining my confidence and I could get out of the house and at least sit outside, that's when I met a friend of mine. Now he's late. He was, at that time we didn't know each other, but he was one of the people that he wouldn't make fun of me, but he would always push me. And he would always move backwards. Whenever I get closer to him, he'd move backwards. And he'd say no, he doesn't like the fact that I feel sorry for myself. So with him pushing me to actually gain my confidence, that's where I learned that there's challenges in life.
His brother Lerato Babedi says Lloyd's disability was nothing anyone expected.
It was very hectic because since Hlone was a little boy, he was suffering from disability. He did so many operations from the legs, the hands. He did so many operations since he was young until now. He's still doing some few different operations.
They try to support him as a family.
We usually sit down with him when he's having any problems. We sit down and talk, and he tells us about the challenges from the hospital, what are they saying, and then we're trying to figure it out if it's going to be possible for him to do that. If it's a good thing, he can take a chance. Then he can be strong because we are always there for him. We advise him to do something that he won't be regret. He won't regret about it.
Lerato says his brother's bravery is what made people view disability differently.
He's very, very pushy. This guy doesn't want to relax. You tell him, no, don't overdo things. He says, no, I'll be fine. And he's doing very, very good job because he's taking every challenge he comes along. So it inspires us because he's very strong. He's brave to take some challenges.
Narratives are written and rewritten by our own perceptions. The power to change people's views about you is solely up to you.
Regardless that there's now changes physically that I have, I still can pursue the same goals that I have wanted to do, as I've always wanted to be a well-known poet and I wanted to be a DJ. I went into the poetry industry, but it didn't go far. I went into a couple of competitions. In 2006, I was Best Poet of Gauteng. And after that, I stopped performing. I think I just grew out of it. But I pursued the DJing business and I eventually became a professional DJ, a club DJ and that. So, yeah.
Lloyd rewrote his narrative. Without proper infrastructure around his community, he strives to change the stigma around disability. Having experienced both sides, he has chosen a path of educating the community with a well-informed background.
Let's take a quick break. When we return, Lloyd talks to us about his community outreach projects that he started to improve the lives of other people with physical disabilities. When we return.
Over 5% of the world's population, of 360 million people, has disabling hearing loss.
Sometimes babies are born that can't hear.
Yeah.
And especially during the pregnancy where there's some infections that mom could pick up that can actually transmit that damage to the ear, and those children can be born deaf.
I don't look at myself as a disabled person. I looked at myself as Bruno, not with a disability. I don't have barriers. I use South African Sign Language because I have a language.
And unfortunately, we need to talk to the teenagers and the young people out there. I know it's now fine to go to the concerts and listen to that loud music, but you're actually damaging those little hair cells all the time. And you're not going to pay the price now. You're going to pay the price when you turn 45, 50. And then all of a sudden, we're going to see the damage done.
For all your health news, join Health Talk every Saturday from 9 to 10.
Robots, automation and artificial intelligence are becoming an increasingly important part of our lives.
We love the term disruptive technologies.
Parents and caregivers are taking part in Facebook.
On Network, we give you Africa's technology and social media news.
My favorite piece of technology is the microwave.
The reason why I can't live without my cell phone is because I do everything on my cell phone.
For all your technology news, catch Network with Spumelele Zondi on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m.
Weekly dose of art and entertainment news. Tune into Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1.
Welcome back to the show with me, Bophelong Molebati. Today we look at living with a physical disability from the eyes of a driven young man from Alexandra, Lloyd Babedi. From his own struggles, he was able to identify with challenges of other people with physical disabilities in his township. He founded a fundraising initiative to provide wheelchairs for those in need. Have a look at this.
Comfortable in who he is, Lloyd Babedi, well known as DJ Bucks, strikes conversations everywhere he goes to dismiss myths and stereotypes around any form of disability. Walking in crutches and doing everything and anything he wishes at any time, Lloyd says his purpose is to help other disabled people around his community. His story has started an inspirational movement.
I do motivations. I go to the local schools, and also whenever I see a person with a disability, I'll make it a point that I strike a conversation with them and actually understand what is their challenges, why are they disabled, what happened to them, and what are their hopes and dreams.
He uses his disability to make a meaningful impact, especially when he's making people dance to his sounds.
When it comes to my DJing, at first I started DJing because I love music, but now I DJ because I want to teach people about disability. Because I've realized as a person, when you're at a party, you'll dance to the music and have fun. But now the moment you realize that the person that was making me dance has a disability, automatically it teaches you that people with disabilities are actually capable. If that person could make me dance, imagine what other things they are capable of doing. Because during my set, what I'd also do, I'd move from behind the decks and move forward to actually dance, just so that people can see that the person who's DJing has a disability, they can dance, they can have fun like anybody else. So that is what I do, basically within my community and anywhere where I go. I make it a point that I need to be known. People need to be able to interact with me easily.
He started an initiative to donate wheelchairs to try and change people's mindsets.
It's a mindset. I started it in 2015. I used to rent in Lombardy. So I decided to come back to Alex and come back and live at home because I decided renting was just too much of an expense. And so I came back home. So there was this boy who lived in the same road, but now he didn't have a proper working wheelchair. And where we stay, there's no proper pavement, so he'd always have to use the main road. And there's taxis, and there's always danger whenever he's in the road. So I decided with a couple of DJ friends of mine that, guys, we always DJ, we always have fun, and that why not actually decide and do a fundraising event? We know people in media, we know big DJs that we could always use as headliners to attract people. And we all have clothing brands. So we could always use that as a form of making money as well. So we did that one event. We bought him a wheelchair. It was a surprise. He didn't even know about it. After giving it to him through social media and people talking, we started getting requests from people from all over the country telling us their problems and telling us that they also need wheelchairs. So we decided, let us register a foundation and actually now find out what are the challenges. Why is the number of people that need wheelchairs, why is it so high?
His determination has changed and touched the lives of many.
So we decided, let's do it annually, get funding, get sponsors, do events, make sure that every month we do an event towards raising funds and buying wheelchairs. Last year was the second year that we officially did the whole campaign. Our first sponsor was Nissan, which bought all the wheelchairs that we donated last year. We donated 130 wheelchairs.
Having found his purpose, Lloyd met with Harold and quickly identified his needs. Harold is one of the many beneficiaries from It's a Mindset initiative.
I fell from a tree when I was picking up some pitches with young friends of mine. So then from there I had my internal back injuries, and then from there I was just given some pills. You know, way back we had difficulties in terms of the access of hospitals because of the long distances and so on. But then from since at the age of 10 years I was then told that I would have to have some operations. Then I was transferred from the Eastern Cape to Cape Town. There's a hospital called Retreat Hospital, Princess Alice Hospital in Retreat, and then I was transferred to Groteskir. Then from that was 85 when I went there. Then 87 I was discharged, so I stayed the whole year of 86 in bed with operations. I have 3 operations from my spinal cord, the other one from the left side, and the other one from the back side on my upper hip.
Having to spend a year in hospital and surviving 3 operations, Harold celebrates his life daily despite his challenges.
First of all, being a person with a disability on a wheelchair, it's a different story. It's very difficult in terms of movement, especially, when we don't have wheelchairs, because most of us, we are in need of mobility, wheelchair-wise. And some of us, we are in need of like crutches, like all of those types of accesses. But it's difficult because, first of all, the pavement, that we need to use, it's so small to an extent that a wheelchair cannot be able to use it. We have people who sell, they have businesses selling on pavements. So we need to use the roads. The roads are small, there's so many cars, and at the same time, there's, people, they throw water on the roads. It becomes difficult to push, because you push, you have to use your hands. So there's a whole lot of problems that we are encountering.
His wish is to see stories of people on wheelchairs told as normal narratives.
When I see actors either on soapies, dramas, or movies, you see that this person does not have a disability, but then the person is acting on behalf of a person who has a disability. Why not train or find a person who has a disability? Train the person, because that's a job. Somebody is getting paid for that. So it means someone is substituting that job, is taking that job away from me, or from someone who has a disability who can do that job.
Harold was also inspired to start his own initiative.
This brand, Konala, it's my brand. It's part of saying we need to start to do greater things from where we are. This is Alex, this is Gomorrah. So there's a whole lot of variety happening here. There's a whole lot of different cultures. There's a whole lot of different mindsets. But we need to look at ourselves and say, why do we need to go elsewhere? Why can't we do greater things from where we are?
Lloyd's vision and mission is spreading across the nation, developing more people to drive their own destinies.
And after the break, we hear from other people with physical disabilities how they have drawn strength from Lloyd's undying spirit. Stay with us.
SABCnews.com is your one-stop digital portal to all the news you need. With a website that is easy to use on mobile, SABC News prides itself in being the primary source of public service content across multiple platforms. Watch live streams of all the big news events on the SABC News YouTube channel, which is one of the most viewed South African YouTube channels globally. And catch up on the best of SABC television and radio news. Follow breaking news on all of the SABC News social media platforms, interact with SABC News on Facebook, and stay connected on Twitter for the latest headlines and real-time updates by our reporters. SABC News, everywhere.
Welcome back to the last leg of our show. With his work as a club DJ, Lloyd Babedi was able to remove the negative perception that is often attached to living with a disability. Have a look at how.
Making a change through donating wheelchairs, motivating through his disability has become Lloyd's purpose. Social media and media as a whole have become a key point for Lloyd to raise awareness for the lack of wheelchairs around his community. His initiative moved from an annual event to a monthly event.
We're looking at less wheelchairs but more community interaction, because now if a person within a community sees that you've received a wheelchair as a person with a disability, to them they look at it as that person, they are fine in life. They don't have other challenges. So we looked at it, why not now have an event where we will teach able-bodied people within the community of the different challenges, so that they don't look at it to say a person with a disability only needs a wheelchair or they need crutches and they are fine. but there are other challenges as well that they have and they need assistance and support with. So hence this year we're looking at donating a maximum of 6 wheelchairs per event, and we're going to be having an event every month, so that will be 8 events. I would say my purpose is to assist people with disabilities and to make sure that there's proper social inclusion for them. At first, yes, I did look at it as God was punishing me, but now I think also with age I started realizing that it's not a matter of punishment, but it's a matter of I was able to see how able-bodied people live, and now I'm at a space whereby I'm able to fight for people with disabilities to say that they need to have the same facilities, they need to have the same opportunities as able-bodied people.
Lloyd leads a normal lifestyle, as he even has a 9-to-5 job for when he's not DJing.
My 9-to-5 job, I work as a call center agent, and on a typical day basically we would, except for just transferring calls to different departments, but we would also give clients general information about the company, about the products that we have, and that kind of thing as well.
Lloyd makes sure that these wheelchairs are empowering people.
One wheelchair is 4,500, and that is excluding the customization, so it varies in prices. But now with the company that I work with, they do not charge extra for the customizations of the wheelchair. They do not charge extra, and also what they do is that they would ensure that they measure the person who's going to receive the wheelchair to make sure that the wheelchair actually empowers them instead of just being a mode of transport.
His method to find people to donate to is quite simple.
Most of the time I use social media. I would post that a person would nominate. If you know a person with a disability that you feel they need assistance, nominate that person, get that person's details, and we would actually go to them and do the assessment to see if do they need a wheelchair. Because there are 2 kinds of people with disabilities. There are those that want a wheelchair, and there are those that need a wheelchair. So we do not give to those that want a wheelchair, because all they want to do is get a new wheelchair and sit at home and do nothing. But the one that needs a wheelchair already has a plan to say, once I get a new wheelchair, I'm going to go look for a job. I'm going to start my business. They already have a plan to say, this mode of transport is going to be able to empower me in this way.
Harold is grateful for a person like Lloyd because regardless of not using a wheelchair, he's helping wheelchair users.
What he's doing is valuable. I think companies need to look at that. They need to see that. They need to invest in him and in what he's doing, because in communities like this, we have families that don't know how to deal with a person who has a disability. You find that the person who has a disability is in need of a wheelchair, but social workers, they don't have all the know-how of where to find a person who has a disability. So what he's doing is actually bridging that gap to say, we have people who can help firstly with wheelchairs.
Harold's life was changed through this wheelchair donation.
What he's doing is so important. So I would like to say thank you to him. Bugs, you the man. You know the sense, the feeling, the difficulties of a person who is in need, especially a person who has a disability. He must continue, he mustn't stop. There's also, in from my own thinking, is that there's a whole lot more people living with disabilities that needs to be reached, that he will be able to, to reach, but he needs support, but I say thank you to him. He's done a great job. I'm really happy.
He has now changed people's perceptions.
People look at me as a person, not a person with a disability, but a normal person, because I interact with everyone and anyone, and I make sure that I attend different functions. Whether it's an event at a club, at a stadium, whether it's a corporate event or it's a networking event, I would always make sure that I am there, because I believe that people like me or people with disabilities that are outspoken are those kind of people that you don't just forget, and it's easy for them to actually make a mark because of their specific disability that they have. So when I was in school, my history teacher always used to say, it's a cruel world out there, so use your disability to your advantage. So I always make it a point that people do not forget me because of my disability.
Lloyd's disability gave him a purpose of understanding what others go through. Bridging the gap between the able-bodied and the disabled has become a simple yet impactful journey. Sometimes it's not the big and complex things that go a long way, but it is starting with where you are with the people you know. Lloyd followed his simple mandate to help people around the Alexandra Township.
And with that, we conclude our show for today. Thank you so much for watching. Until next week, it's a goodbye from us here on Bophelong.